But welcome everybody. What I typically do is I share a screen of a slide deck of photos people have sent in to me or that people are going to cover for us at the show tonight, at the Zoom call tonight. So I'll do that in a moment, but I just would like to welcome everybody and certainly welcome the people who are just joining us for the first time here. I think you'll enjoy the call. And it's all about participation, so come off of mute and let's hear your questions and your comments as we go through, okay?
Mark, just to interject something here, a brand new person. There's a name by Chase M. This young fellow's name is Miles. He's my student by Zoom and is 12 years old. And he's really a zealous carver.
Great.
Still got all 10 fingers too.
Good. Well, welcome, Miles. Okay, let's see if I can share the screen. And there we are. Everybody should see that, I hope. For those that are new to us, if you look up at the side of your screen or in the corner of your screen, you'll also see a variety of videos of people's faces that are on the call tonight. You have a couple of options. You can click on one that says speaker only, and you'll see my face only along with this slide because I'm currently speaking. Or you can choose any number of people that you want to see. And those little bars at the top, if you click on those, you can just see a few people. Like I'm looking at 4 different people right now. But you can also click on a button that sees everybody at the same time. The only downside of doing that is it cuts down on the slide that you're looking at. Okay, so that's what that's all about. Okay, any questions on any of the notion around how to manage these Zoom calls? Okay, so it's October 26th already, and this is our 28th Zoom call, and so they're created by John Paul Andre and myself. And we try to host the call along with Murray Lincoln. We have probably about 175 members on the TNCC group right now, and usually about 40 members show up on the Zoom call. These videos are put on YouTube by Murray, and we get thousands of people looking at the YouTubes as well. All right, on tonight's call, we've got a number of interesting things going on. Many of them, I think most of them really, are all about photos that have been taken on a variety of different gatherings that have occurred since we've talked last. So we're going to have an opportunity to take a look at a lot of really interesting caricatures and carvings in general. And so we're going to take our time as we go through that, because you always learn something by just taking a look at what other people are doing. And so let's talk about each of them. And if you've done something similar, raise that and we'll have a good conversation about it. So we'll start by opening up for questions in a minute, just if there's anything from previous calls that you want to raise up as a question or comment. Then we'll take a look at some of the projects that are currently on some of our TNCC members' workbenches. And, you know, we have a half a dozen or so carvings that people have sent in a picture. And we'll go through those slowly, let the individual who submitted the photo talk a little bit about it. Then we'll question about how they've done it. We also have some photos, as I mentioned, from some recent gatherings that have occurred recently. Murray and I were joined by a number of TNCC members at the Hamilton Wood Show. Was that last weekend, Murray? I think it was. Yes. So it was, yeah. And so so Murray and I will talk a little bit about a few of those photos and our impressions of the show. Lloyd and I had talked about at our last session together, last Zoom call together, that we'd be attending Queen's University here in Kingston and helping out an art class in taking on their first wood carving. And Lloyd and I went there, had a ball, and took a few pictures, and we'll talk to you a little bit about how that went. John Lemay I think he's on the line already now. He went to the big US show, the CCA sponsored show in Colorado Springs called Carve the Rockies. And John took some fantastic photos of some of the leading carvings at that show. And I'm really looking forward to that because, again, that's really our opportunity, first of all, to understand how a US show is run and the scale of it, but also just take a look at some really unique and interesting carvings and try to learn from them just by talking about them, looking at the details and talking about them. So John's going to lead us on a little discussion of that. John Paul, Andre, and I introduced the notion of another virtual show and contest that we'd like to have during the month of December. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that and see if we can further those ideas and get you interested and involved in that. Okay, so that's our notion for tonight. I'm just going to stop the share for a minute so we can see each other. Are there any, so let's start, are there any questions or comments that come to mind with anything that we're talking about tonight or anything we've talked about in the past that you want to kick the meeting off with? And you have to come off mute to mention those things. Okay. I'm going to go back to the slide deck then. Okay, so let's talk about projects on the workbench, and we'll start off right here. Sue, are you on the line right now?
Yes, yeah, I am.
Well, why don't you talk about a couple of slides that I have for you?
Okay. Just a couple of things. I didn't go too crazy with the Halloween decorations this year or the Halloween carvings, but a couple. The first one there is just a little stack of jack-o'-lanterns. It's I'd say it's probably about 7 inches high in round basswood. And I carved it with the intent of having each one kind of totally different. So you can see if the one on the top, it's got like a big scar on the other side of its head, and then the one in the middle has a nail sticking out there. The fellow on the bottom with the black eye, he's got a few staples holding his eye closed. And I tried a few different painting techniques on that one. The one beside it, just a very simple carving of a pumpkin in a cloaky kind of thing. I wanted to try one of those type of gowns with the wrinkles. I've seen a lot of them this year, so I thought I'd give that one a go just to see how it worked out.
Really nice. Any comments or questions for Sue on these two? Okay.
Her pictures, her photography is excellent every time.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I really like that.
As the
Makes a
dog
big
gets
difference.
older, he's getting patient to sit and just wait while I do that. Yeah.
Okay.
And these two guys here, just another, there's on the right, there's the view of the other side of the pumpkin, so you can see the stitched up thing on his head there and on his eye better. And then the other two on the left, again, just a little pumpkin man. And a pumpkin itself. The pumpkin man there, I wanted to just try some different paint colors and a little bit of a different technique for the paint itself. There's actually a type of oil underneath there, and I wanted to see how well the paint would take it, if it would be somewhat uniform, so that it would look a little bit worn, especially the jacket, or the vest, I should say. So, yep. That's pretty much it.
Really nice. Any questions or comments for Sue on these two? Thanks very much, Sue.
You're welcome.
Lee, are you on the line tonight?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Oh, there you go. So I painted these guys. They're 1x1s, and their heads are actually separate from their bodies. And I call them featherweight boxers. And they're just little. There's like a a doodle I did. I was just messing around to see how much movement I could get out of a 1x1. Hello? You guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, so then I did the wood burning and I made a little boxing ring for them out of a 1/4-inch dowel and some string I found in my kids' stuff. So,
And the base
well, the base
Just
is
made
a
of
piece of plywood. It's a piece of plywood on top of some pine that I had found. There's like what was it called? A skid. There was some skid material, and I just made the little base out of that. And then you got some featherweight boxes.
they look good. I like the way you left the green in them too. It just gives it a different kind of unique look, right?
Oh, that's cutting board oil I put on top of them to kind of just bring out the grain in it. And then yeah, that was it for those guys. Huh.
Any questions or comments for Lee? Okay, thanks, Lee.
No worries.
Mark, somehow you've disappeared. You get clicked out?
No, I think I'm here.
Okay, you just had to talk. That was the,
Yeah. Okay, so I guess Karen's not online, but she
I
sent in
think
a
she's
couple.
there.
Oh, is
Oh,
she?
yeah, everything just went off for me. But yeah, in my carving group, we were doing bisons, and so I took the challenge on trying to learn how to do the fur. I wasn't sure how to do ribs yet, but if anyone has any pointers, and looking at the picture that's pointing to the left, I realized there's a flat side on that back part that I need to deal with. But yeah, so it was just a fun carve to do this.
I
So
think, Karen, I could say that one way to do ribs is just make him a fat buffalo.
Okay.
So you were saying you were learning how to do the hair. How did you end up doing it? Is that with a V tool and burning?
Yes. Yeah.
That looks really good.
Karen,
Thank you.
what size is this piece, and did you use a pattern to cut it out?
I in my group, the leader did a cutout, like a rough out, and it's about 6 inches, at least 6 inches, like long. So and maybe 4 or 5 inches tall. So
Looks nice.
thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Yep, thanks, Mike.
Murray, did you want to talk about this one?
Just as a distraction from caricatures, it's also when you get caught into it, it started the mid-August and it finished the first week of October. So I ended up with a bump on my wrist because of it. And it's been a tremendous lesson. This is a Greenland Gibbons style. He lived 300 years ago and came to London. His parents are English. They were having a business in the Netherlands. He came over to London in the 1600s and changed the world. He was 20 years old then. He eventually ended up carving for 3 kings. So it definitely changed. And what this is there's a back piece. You see the top and the bottom of it there, and pieces are added to it. That's one of the things he broke all the rules. Where you'll probably see most of this in old movies when people are at castles or in the castles the movie's taken. They're beside the fireplace. Above the fireplace, there's a carving with a rabbit hanging one side and a pheasant in the other with a gun or bow and arrow or whatever, and all the vegetables. That's the Greenland Gibbons style. So it was a good adventure.
So this part here and this part here is the back of it. Is it attached up the middle or is it just?
Yeah, right up
hanging?
at the very top. I don't know if you see my mouse not there, but the top with the point at the top, that's a leaf. That down to the acorns, that's one solid piece.
Oh, okay.
Down, but the funny part is that there's flowers and all kinds of things on top of that back piece. And then he covers it all up with all these other things you add. So it stands out 4 inches from the back plate.
So are all these grapes and maybe peas or maybe those grapes too, are those all separately done, these grapes, and then put on vine?
The pear on the right-hand side and the grapes are all one piece. They're all made out of basswood. And the suggestion that the original carver did was to do the grapevine, and the grapes are hanging from it. But because it was basswood, and I just couldn't get in to get that thing smoothed down, so I furthered the Grinland Gibbons idea and added grapevines and grapes to the top of the grapevine and made it look really full. Yeah. It's also 2 solid weeks of carving, about 4 hours a day for 6 days a week.
Right. How many grapes rolled away on you while you were carving?
A few off the bench. But no cuts on my fingers. That was a big thing. That was a huge issue.
You didn't need any of those grapes, did you? Right?
Well, but it's probably one of a kind. You're not going to do more than that. The left-hand side where there's 2 peaches and the vines hanging from it, and those particular berries are all carved as one bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a discipline. That's what it was. It helped me to. It felt a little bit like getting a master's degree.
Yeah,
across the stage. Wow.
Murray, that's a beautiful carving. I hope you're able to or planning to enter that on one of the shows. That's just great.
I saw at the show we were at, Mark, you remember there was about 2 or 3 pieces that you were part of a judge in there, and you saw the detail that they put into it. So there are a few people now trying this different kind of carving. Mm-hmm. And it's almost a whole area similar to what going into ducks or wildfowl caricatures. It could be a branch of this kind of carving in our carver, among our carvers across Ontario.
Really beautiful.
Murray, what did you put on top for finish on this?
That is a finish was done with some oil on it, and that brought a little bit of a mellow color to it from the white basswood. And then I did a satin spray on it and a couple of layers of that. But the big problem with any kind of the basswood is that it's fuzzy, really difficult to do. So once I had the satin spray on it, I used a center punch. The side of it, it's like the center, it's like the side of a screwdriver, the metal part, and you rub all the areas to bring up a little bit of a sheen. So it takes all the fuzz away. It's like a burnished sanding. One old fellow told me about 90 years old when I was doing a lathe demonstration. He said, you never sand with sandpaper, use the back of the chisel. And that smooths it down. It just makes it's just a nice finish without being glossy. But it's the sanding took quite a while to do that rubbing with that tool.
That's great information. Thanks for that. I hope we all learned something there. The carving looks really good, by the way.
This is mounted in one of those shadow boxes that Michael sells that has you can put baseballs or something like that inside of it. So I took the glass off the shadow box and mounted that on the back. And now it stands out from the frame about 2 or 3 inches above the frame, above where the glass would be. So I said to someone, this is another thing my wife's going to want me to take dust once in a while, get the dust off.
The only thing I can think to improve this, Murray, is if some of those grapes had 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth on it. Maybe next time. Yeah,
it looks like you want to have I thought about doing coconuts so you could put a real face on it.
Yeah, that's right. Beautiful carving. Thanks, Murray. Any other questions or comments for Murray?
Oh, well done, Murray.
Thank you.
Very impressive. Especially the roundness of all the grapes and all the seeds and everything like that. It's really, really impressive.
If you look his name up, Grinland Gibbons, Grinling, Gibbons, Gibbons. And Wikipedia has a real good story about him, where he came from, what he did.
Thank you, Murray. John, do you want to
Hey.
talk about yours?
Oh. Yeah, I didn't even know you were putting it on. Yeah, this just one of my elves that I carve. For my display, I go to a craft show every year and sell my ornaments, and I have a bunch of elves on my display table. So this guy is Luigi's Pizza. We deliver around the world, 24 hours, or it's free, and just for the kids and the bigger kids. I gotta make a base yet and put the reins in and a bunch of stuff for the deer and stuff. But
I like the
just part of
telephone
my-
number.
Pardon me?
The telephone number is great.
Yeah, 555 ho ho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I like about it, John, is I know it's a caricature and all that, but I like the realistic look you got on the antlers on the deer. I used to be an avid deer hunter, or I could still walk a bit, and I never got a rack quite like that. But no, that's very realistic looking. I like that. Yeah. As far as the 24-hour pizza, I'm thinking it'd be kind of soggy after the first 12. So.
And Wayne, as you say that about the antlers, the hide of the deer looks like a real hide of a real deer. That
Yes,
fuzziness
it
and
does,
softness to it.
Yes, yeah, I agree. No, it's like I say, it's I know it's caricature and all that, but it's almost realistic as well. So it's but the horns was what caught my eye. So I guess
thank
I'm
you.
envious.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, Roy, it's nice to have you on the video tonight. Why don't you talk about a couple of your slides here?
Thanks. These two are 7x7. They're out of basswood. They're out of I think the Summer Wood Carving Illustrated magazine. I think some lady over in England did them, and I just liked them. One on the wall looked pretty bare, so the boss wanted another one, so I just chose another flower, and so I made a pair, and it looks better. They're finished with beeswax salad bowl finish with a hair dryer, to melt it in underneath and everything, and just buffed off. I like a break from caricature carving every now and again, so I go into relief carving.
These are really nice and clean. Now, I don't know if I've heard people using beeswax and then melting it in with a hairdryer. That's kind of a novel idea.
Well, it was suggested in the article in the magazine, so I mean, I tried it, and it really lets you get to the spots that would be difficult to get anything else into to put the beeswax in. So
really nice. Any questions or comments for Roy?
It's a great carving there, Roy.
thank you. Yeah, you're probably sick of seeing my puffins, but but I did a few more, so I figured I'd throw them in. I just keep revising some of them. Like here, I made a ship's captain with the Newfoundland flag on it there. When I sprayed them, the flag sort of blurred, which I'm pretty disappointed about and just a few more, and then I got a few more ornaments that I'm doing over, ready to be painted now.
Those are really nice. I really like those puffins. I don't think I could
Roy?
get sick of those. Really nice.
Roy,
Yes.
when you said the flag's blurred, do you mean the paint ran, or?
Yeah, well, see, I'm getting old, and I'm not steady enough to put those fine little red lines there, so I used a marker, and it seemed like some of the marker reacted with the finish.
Yeah, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I do if I use I use I'll do a paint on acrylic first, and then I'll spray it after, just to protect that because I do gourds with that kind of coloring, and if I use a spray, it makes a reaction with the markers. Sometimes just painting on some acrylic base or water based sealer, and then I spray it. It seems to be better, but
Okay,
I don't
thanks.
know.
So just a clear
good
acrylic, you're
idea.
thinking of, Serge?
Yeah, I used to buy, like the folk art, the little. It's a clear. It's kind of milky, but I put it on first on certain areas that I think might run. Like sec up. I'll just pull. There's it's one of these gourd, or it's kind of hard to see, but it's gourd, and I do it with these artist inks. And the first time I sprayed it, it all ran, so I started over, and then I used the acrylic thing just to put it on like a mat, and then I sprayed it, and I had a better result. It was just something I tried. It
Yeah,
worked
that's
for me,
good
but
tip.
yeah.
Well, thanks, Roy. Any other questions or comments for Roy here? Okay,
Yeah,
thank-
Roy. I'm John from Nanaimo, BC. I've done quite a bit of color like that. And I found if you give it a light spray, a very, very light spray, let it dry, and then give it a top coat, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that would probably work too.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, these are some carvings that I brought along. So you remember seeing, I think the last time I might have shown you the witch, it was in progress. So these were done just for my grandchildren. So this witch is done in actually 3 pieces. So the witch is 1 piece, the pumpkin is another piece, and then I put a broom with the handles carved all as 1 piece is just a little add-on. I thought once I put the witch into the pumpkin, I thought it needed something a little bit more, so I put the broom in, and I'm kind of glad that I did. And that's all done in basswood with bases of walnut, and these are all acrylic paints. And then I used a urethane, an oil-based satin urethane over the acrylics after they had dried for some period of time, and then dabbed off that urethane with a paper towel. And that's the finish that was left. The little vampire, little Dracula, was done in the same way. So he's 1 piece. The stump that here is 1 piece, and then he's got a parasol to keep out of the sun. And the hands are integral. They're 1 piece with that parasol. And same thing, acrylic paint, urethane finish. And that was a fun little carving too. This third
Question,
one,
Mark, about the mouth on the pumpkin on the left, or the
Yep.
pumpkin there. Is his mouth carved right in, or did you do that just with a paint job?
no, that's carved right in. That's carved right in, and then paint in the recess. Same with this little hole where the stump is. It's carved right in, and then painted in the recess. Okay. This guy here was the pattern that Lloyd and I used for the Queen's guy wearing the hoodie jacket, and so I turned this one into a little winter fellow, and all I had to do on the pattern was add this pom-pom on the side on the bandsaw. So I just made sure I had enough material there to cut a pom-pom, and then using that pattern instead of the hoodie, I made a toque and a scarf and a jacket and boots. And this is a nice little pattern. If anybody wants one, just send me an email and I'll fire one off to you on email. It's only about 4 inches tall. The thing I really like about this, and Lloyd and I will talk about it a little bit more in a minute when we're talking about the Queen's thing, is it's simple. There's not a lot to the facial features, kind of a bulbous nose. There are no hands to bother somebody that's a new carver, having to deal with the hands are in the pockets. So it's a fun little carving. And my experience so far has been people can, do in an 8-hour period, people would be able to carve something like that.
Mark, I put my first request in for the magazine. A photo of this character
yeah.
finished, and also
Oh,
the pattern.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That would be great because it's coming up right in this next week.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that? Right. Mike, you're on the line.
Yes, Murray Hinter is probably on there as well from Thunder Bay. The two of us have been working for months now on that project on the right. It's sort of an update for you. You might remember from a previous Zoom, we were doing this jack pine project. So these guys are little mascots for an adventure trail system in Thunder Bay. And we are creating these. Murray had the brilliant idea. We could make these mascots and give them to Big Boreal for their next projects. And they could sell them some before Christmas. That's why some of these little guys have toques on their heads. They're in various categories. The bigger ones that stand alone are toys for kids. So everything's food safe, non-toxic. Then we have fridge magnets, some of those ones lying down there in the front. And then there's also some with little strings and hangers and so on, and they're tree decorations. So we've got them in various uses, you might say. Also, they're in cottonwood bark, basswood, and white pine. So we offered the blanks. We prepared about 200 blanks, and in this past club meeting, we handed out half of them in the very first meeting. And they're starting to come in. We probably have upwards of nearly 50 now prepared for sale for the Big Boreal Adventure. It's called. You could Google that, Big Boreal Adventure. It's really a unique kind of thing. Now I think they have 38 posts for rubbings that the children would do. A little booklet they get from the library to do that with, and it gets families out in nature. And so this is another effort we're making to raise money for them. I don't know if Murray has more to say there. Perhaps not. Okay,
When
the
you
other
say,
one.
Mike, when you say that that's food safe, what is the clear coat that you put on that? Is it like an oil or something?
What we're using is, having researched this at some length and also consulted with people that do carpentry, building toys for children. They say that the paints and exterior finishes that are safe are designated either directly with the words non-toxic on the can or on the tube or whatever, or AP, which I led to understand is artist proof. And it's an international standard for safe materials, especially in the art world. So that's what we use. For a while, I was doing epoxy to glossen up the eyes. And then we thought about it a little further and thought, no, if a 2-year-old puts that in their mouth, I'm not sure that epoxy would be good for them. So, so each one here is, could go in some kid's mouth if they had decided to do that. The ones that are especially are toys. And we also caution people, no sharp edges, because they'll be handling these. And the goal with these are mainly aiming at about 2-year-olds to maybe 6 or 8-year-olds. Mind you, some of the adults think they're pretty cute too. One of the things I think you'll notice in that collection there, which is just some of them on my kitchen table, is we asked the club members to emulate real jack pine cones, which are, in fact, when you look at a pile of them, there are a lot of variety with them, and shapes and sizes and angles and so on. And so we said, do the same thing with these guys. They don't have to all look exactly like the one in the book. And so you see a variety of approaches people have taken with it, which makes it a lot of fun, and people can put their own spin on it.
Very nice, Mike. Open up for questions or comments for Mike. Okay, thanks very much. Fred.
Right here. So the one on the top is Ziggy. I don't know if you guys remember him from older cartoons in the newspaper. I have a person who requested this, started for his brother. Apparently his brother has a little bit of Alzheimer's, but he can relate to Ziggy and his dog Fuzz. And I did that from an actual, I guess, just a flat drawing or cartoon. The other one is obviously I'm on a Snoopy kick. My wife tells me I'm actually playing as I go with this, and no pun intended. The plane is supposed to be a sock with camel, and I'm discovering different things as I go along. How to do this a little bit better, how to make that a little bit nicer. So it's in the works. Obviously, there's a lot of things I haven't worked out yet, but it's coming along.
This look really good. Most of you know that Fred and I are both in Kingston, so I get to see this one live. And what you don't see very well from the photo is Fred's got all of the ribs, so it looks like the fabric is bowing in between the ribs here. It's really quite nice. Any questions for Fred?
But if I was Fred's grandson, I said, but Grandpa, where's the tail?
It's over here, Murray.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yet to be added. Thank you, Fred. Okay, Janice. Janice is a new member to us tonight, and she sent in some really nice carvings here. So Janice, why don't you talk a little bit about these? You have 2 slides here.
The one on the right was, as I said, I've just been using I started with the Dremel last November, so almost a year. And then just have started working with the knife the last 2 months. So the one on the right, the 2 little hunters and the beagles, were my my first attempt with a knife, and following one of the Gene Messer YouTubes. And they're just about 2 inches high and just made out of basswood. And the one on the left is kind of a compilation of a bunch of different things. The eye was just me experimenting. I've got a daughter that's an optometrist. So that was just trying to practice and see what an eye would look like and how to do it. And that's got an epoxy finish on it as well. And then my Santas and my little moose is about, he'd probably be about 4 inches high and made out of basswood. And the cedar man, this guy, again, was one of my first attempts with trying to do, they had a bunch of logs at the carving club that I'm part of. And so I took one of those and I keep adding to it. And the little guys on the right, they're about 1 inch by 1 inch. And I actually did, the one on the very right is one of my husband's brothers. There are 6 brothers. And I did all of them, the 6 little guys, all with their different personalities. So, yeah.
Really nice. Any questions or comments for Janice?
Yes, I love the eyes on these caricatures. This one and the slide before, and the posture. The one, if you go back to that one marked just before, the guy on the right hand side is the chin is up and he's kind of looking up. That is real cool. There's a great 2 carvings there. All of them are really good.
Thank you.
I was at a
back there, something else. That eye picture.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I was at an art fest this summer in the Kingston area, and a guy had a number of carvings framed that was just an eyeball and a lid like this, but it was a dragon's eye. And so,
neat.
Yeah, it was neat. And so they had this really interesting dragon's eye and very highly epoxied so that it would shine, and then sort of the dragon's scaly skin around it. And it was so striking. It was just unbelievable. That's what that reminds me of. So maybe that's your next project, Janice.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Really nice carvings. Any other comments for Janice? Oh, you had one more. I'm sorry.
Oops. Oh, and this was the other little guide that I did for my daughter out in Nova Scotia. And I ended up doing a couple little seasonal things to hang on that little post there. So there's a Christmas wreath, and there was a pumpkin and various things to hang on that. And the rope is just made with it's just actually rope that I've kind of soaked in glue, so that's not carved, that section.
That was a good idea to soak it in glue, though.
Mm-hmm.
Looks a little bit like John Paul.
It does. It does. You got to make one about 6'4", though.
Yeah.
Those are really nice.
Thank you.
That's truly Nova Scotian, that is.
Yeah, you think you've seen some people like that, Wayne?
Oh yes, yeah. A lot of my buddies, those are the guys that didn't get seasick, so they went into the fishery for a livelihood. They didn't work ashore like some of us.
Yeah. Firdaus, you have a couple of real nice carvings here.
Yeah, so on the right hand side, the wood spirit, I just wanted to do something quick. So I grabbed a 2 by 2 by 4 inch piece of basswood, and just Harold Enlow has a book, so I kind of followed his instructions and carved this wood spirit. It was fun. The piece on the left hand side is just like a 1 by 1 by probably 5 or 6 inch piece, and I wanted to practice some eyes. So I kind of used the same instructions in Harold Enlow's book, and those 2 eyes I carved from there, and the mouth also just a quick like 2 eyes and a mouth. So it's a 1 by 1 by 5 inch or 6 inch piece on the left hand side.
They're super. Great carving.
Thank you.
And maybe it happens when we go faster and don't worry about the detail. It really becomes more pronounced, especially the guy on the right-hand side.
I like the fact that you got that little dot in the eye, the white dot. It makes them pop right out. It really brings the detail in.
Yeah, it just gives a little bit of life in the eye.
Very nice, Firdaus. Any other comments or questions for Firdaus?
Just one of the things about the spot in the eye, I've used a toothpick and have it cut off so it's not the round tip or pointed tip. It's the round toothpick, that size. Dip that in paint and just touch it so each circle, each little dot's the same size.
Yeah, I do the same. I also use a toothpick.
Much easier than trying to use a brush.
And once if you're finished after that, if you really want to gloss in the eye, cover it with epoxy.
Oh yeah.
Very nice. And Wayne, we're down to Wayne Smith.
Well, this is what's on the bench now. I don't very often take requests, but there's a guy who's been picking up a few of my carvings, and he asked me to do him one, a hockey player, and I agreed. And then he started laying out the specifics as to what uniform the guy was going to have to be wearing and the number. So my apologies to anybody from Perry Sound, because this guy is going to be wearing a Boston Bruins uniform with the number 4 on it. And I think you all know who I'm talking about. I've done this character before. It looks like he's got a broken hockey stick that he's patched up there. And you'll see there's some writing on the boards that he's going to have taped on the shaft of the stick. And what those represent are down here in some of the fish processing plants, they pack salt cod, salt pollock and stuff in wooden boxes. Not so much now, but they used to. And good thin spruce. So that's what they are. One is going to have it's going to insinuate that it was salt pollock, and the other side will be salt cod, because this guy also owns a fish processing plant. So that's just a little detail I threw in for him. But quite a bit more time, got to go into it yet. So
Looking good, looking good.
Look good, Wayne.
It's just
I
a
like
history behind
the
that too, Wayne. There's a history behind this carving. And I was traveling Newfoundland many times. They said that they playing ice hockey out on the water, and one guy got a breakaway and he discovered Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
I like the helmet reminds me of the old Gretzky helmet.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is the old Bobby Orr helmet. So.
Or is it?
But yeah, he's pretty generic, I guess. So anyway,
Really good carving. I like it.
when I get him painted up before I deliver him, I'll take some pictures. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Thanks, Wayne. Any more comments, questions for Wayne? Okay, thank you, everybody. That was a lot of fun. Some really interesting things on your bench, and I'm glad everybody's enjoying having fun with that. Murray and I are just going to spend a minute talking about the Hamilton Wood Show. So that was last weekend. It was actually in Caledonia, which is just south of the Ancaster, just south of the Hamilton International Airport. And the venue was really nice. I was really very impressed, actually, with the facility itself. And we had a number of, well, there was the main area downstairs that was a wood show, lathes and table saws and band saws, the whole 9 yards, really well populated. And then upstairs on the second floor, we had a beautiful area for our wood carving show. And of course, Murray was there with the Ontario Wood Carvers Association table and his own, and he had reserved another table for the True North Caricature Carvers. And a number of us popped in. On Friday, Dave Wilson and Craig Severn and I were there. On Saturday, Ferdos and I staffed our little table. And on Sunday, John Lemay and his wife, Claire, staffed the table. And we had a lot of people come by, and it was just a lot of fun. So a few photos, that's John and Claire at the top, and Ferdos and I at the bottom. We just had those couple of photos of our display. And they were nice little displays. They attracted a lot of people to our carving table. We signed up, I think, about a dozen or more, maybe a dozen and a half new members, just seeing the caricatures and being interested in our Zoom call. So that was really kind of nice. Downstairs, this is just a photo from the second floor looking down. It was a very bright facility. That's what struck me the most about this particular recreation center. I think it's called the Riverside Exhibition Center. Very bright and beautiful downstairs, and the carving area, real bright lights. You didn't really need any extra lighting to see anything. Murray, I'm going to just show some photos of some of the caricatures that were there, but did you want to say anything else about the show?
It's just that some of the comments were that from the visitors that they wish there would have been more signage downstairs pointing people to go upstairs. And that part was a little bit lax, but I really do appreciate Gina and John Downs and what they've gone through. This is the first show since 2019, January, or about March, I guess, February, some of that area. And they've gone through a lot in order to be able to bring this back into place. So they are talking about the possibilities of March in the new year, but she's not sure about that one. But the convention center in Toronto is asking them to come. So they're very impressed with that. They want them to come along. And I want to say to the carvers that were there that are on this call tonight, you guys made the day by being there and showing your stuff. And the amount of people talking to people and engage the public by sitting at your table and booth, that type of thing, was really, really great. It was just a super time. Sometimes we had four or five people at each table talking to people. And the carvers were sharing great information.
Good, thanks, Murray. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through the carvings, because many of them we've seen before, but I'll just kind of go through very quickly some of the things that we saw in the caricature carving area. Some really nice looking carvings. We've seen Dave Wilson's before. We've seen the one pizza guy, and he added a whole diorama to it with a couple of other pizza guys. We've also seen his beautiful fireman diorama. John Lemay put in a couple of really nice carvings. Steve Hibbard put in a really nice carving. This individual with the horse I've actually got is John Fike. I don't know if John's on the line tonight, but John is a new member that just signed up with us. John, if John's on the line, just jump in on this, John. But John did a really nice representation of a Lynn Dowdy design for a pony there, and did a real nice job of it. Craig Severn had a couple of his carvings in that we've seen again before. Really nice carvings. Another one of Craig's. I think this one is the bust. I have to look at my notes here. Yeah, that's John Fike again. And then there was a novice carver, and his name is Blake McBlain. I believe that's what it is. It was hard to read the writing on this particular tag. And Karen Walker put in this nice bass player. And then this one was done by a gentleman named Mike Sauka. I think I pronounced that right. So some really, really nice carvings, and it was nice, as Murray said, to see many of the TNCC people come by and staff the table with us, or just drop by to say hello as they enjoyed the show. So I'm looking forward to the show again. I hope there is another one in March. It was really well done. Okay, any other comments anybody want to make? Anybody or questions about it?
Just to comment further about the March possibilities next year when that comes up. The show in Toronto last time we had it was 25,000 people came to it in 3 days. So if you have the possibility that you'd like to get involved, be sure you contact me about that, and we'll pass you on to the information on to Gina, saying that our carvers are ready to go.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Okay, now something I've actually really been looking forward to is to hear John Lemay talk about some of the photos that he took and his experience at this Colorado Springs Carve the Rockies. I was telling John that I've attended a lot of shows all in Ontario and never been down to one of the big US shows. And so I kind of promised myself I'd do that next year. And so I'm looking forward to hearing his experience at this one. So John, if you're there and you can take over, I'll run through these slides for you.
Okay. So the first picture on the left there is the CCA logo. This is this show is not the largest wood show, but it's in the States, but it's the largest caricature wood show, and it is done by the Caricature Carvers of America, or the CCA. So there was about 250 entries in this show. For just caricatures, I find that outstanding. There's no novice or intermediate. It's just open only. No CCA members were allowed to enter anything either. So a lot of the carvings that you'll see is all carvings that were done by non-CCA members. The CCA member carvings that you'll see, I will point them out.
I find it so interesting, John, that it's all open. So regardless of whether you've been to a show in the past or not, everything's put in open. That's pretty hard on people who aren't used to competing in the open class. That's interesting.
Absolutely. So all the carvings are very good. So it's quite something. All the carvings also have to be original to you, and they can't be a carving that's copied in any way. And except for one category, which is a rough out category. So you are allowed to purchase a rough out in that category and make it similar to what the artist originally did. So the picture, first picture that you see there, that's the best of show. If you noticed, the two guys are have their feet in a tub, and they're using acrylic. That's the only other media that's allowed other than wood. So as long as it's used for liquid. And so this artist here, it was a little bit of a political thing because they're just showing the difference between the black and white issues that they're having in the States right now. And so maybe we'll go to the next one.
If anybody along the way wants to comment on the caricature itself or ask any questions about how did they do that, jump in, okay?
So the next picture, it's kind of hard to see. It's not a very good picture. There's 9 people sitting in a plane. This was actually my favorite for the best of show. There's a lot of detail on here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to take a picture going the other way. As I mentioned, there was a lot of things on the table, so it's hard to take really good pictures. But this one here had a lot of details. So there was 9 characters in this, and the backdrop is a plane. They're all sitting really scrunched together on these seats. And so the way they judge over there is they assume that everything is really well done. And then so how they judge it is anything, you try to find anything that's wrong with the carving. And the least amount of things wrong with it makes you higher in the category. So I would have preferred this one as best of show, but the other one won it. The next one next to it is a really cool bird. So, and I like the details that they have in this one. If you notice, there's a straw on top of the cactus. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that was 3rd best of show.
The question, how in the world do you find something wrong with a carving? Like,
Yeah, I know. So basically, how realistic is it? Is there like on my carving, one of the things they criticized about was my collar was too perfect. On one side, the collar should be a little bit up or down. It shouldn't be exactly the same. So little things like that. That's what they critique. This so this here, if you take a close up of it, it's Beverly Hillbillies. I thought this one was really good because the entire truck is all carved. All the details that they have on it, it's amazing. It's just incredible. I think they did an amazing job with all the extra details that are on this Beverly Hillbillies.
And the painting as well, you know, the little rust spots and all the rest of it.
Exactly. And let's see. And then the one next to it, oops, I lost, what happened there? I think I lost something here. Oh, what happened there? I'm sorry. I lost, oh, I lost you. Okay, no. Okay, I can't see the pictures anymore. I'm only seeing people.
the
Sorry,
picture's
guys.
still there with the army sergeant is still there.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can't see it. I can't see any of the pictures.
Check your view settings.
View settings. Oh my goodness. All I'm seeing is everybody that's on. Okay, I got it back. Okay, so the 2 soldiers. I just like the way the soldier on this one is really backing up. Notice how he backs up like crazy. Looks very realistic. I thought he did an excellent job on this one.
And if you look behind him and see the climbing wall and the rope, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, John, you mentioned to me earlier, and I don't know if you wanted to mention later or if now's okay, the way they appreciated that level of detail of like things like the climbing wall and the rope.
Yeah. So one of the things I noticed on most of the carvings is there's a lot of details and a lot of extras, and I really learned a lot from this show because it really brings the story out. It tells the story. I'm used to just making a single caricature and maybe adding 1 or 2 things, but I really like all the extras that everybody's been adding to their carvings. And out of the 250 carvings that were there, most had extras to them.
Just a comment to make there, you mentioned already that everything was hard to get a photograph of it because they were so close together.
Yeah.
I found that at the Hamilton show too. And so my comment is, if any of you are ready to set up or be a part of a show, you've got to give us room to take pictures and also take down all the banners so we can see the carving.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, maybe so this one here, I just love this one. So this was one of the so the next few carvings you'll see is going to be CCA members, and you'll see before some of them you'll see some before I shouldn't say before, earlier carvings and some recent carvings. This is one of the recent carvings from Chris, and I just find this carving, if you take a close up at it, the detail on this horse and the carving is just outstanding. That was one of my favorite carvings for the show. Dale Green, the next in the next picture. You could see the little guy in the bottom there. That would have been one of his earlier carvings. And now what the kind of work that he does now.
Again, everybody just jump in if you want to make a comment or ask a question.
See the stonework on that railroad carving as well. You see, you can see all the different, almost looks like stone was added to that, but that was all carved.
Were the stones all carved?
Yeah, all carved. Yeah. I just love this one, the rat race. So we're all involved in the rat race once in a while. So, and then the guy next to him, he's he's having a bath, and he's got this alligator approaching him. But again, look at all the detail on this carving here. He has his all of his clothes is there, and he's got his boots on the side there. He's got a frog inside in the water, but inside the boots, you see a tail sticking out. It looks like he's got a cat going in there or something. So I just find it so cool that all these extra things on here.
I got to think that's a snake, John, going in his boot.
I'd rather see a cat.
But look at the gun in the holster here in the buckle. It's really well done. Yeah, really well.
It's just amazing, and that was one of the competitors.
Yeah.
And the rat race next door, and you see the farmer with his pig there, the wheelbarrow. That's pretty good. So this is one of the caricature carvers, the CCA members, and cowboys and Indians. Cowboys on one side and the Indians on the other. If you notice that on the Indian side, the castle is the teepee, and on the cowboy side, it's the outhouse. I thought that was pretty good.
Look at look at the work that went into this, John. Look at those.
Isn't that crazy?
Look at that is crazy. Holy moly.
So there was a whole section of early carvings and current carvings of the CCA members, and there's 25 CCA members in the organization. So there was 25 setups like this. It was a really neat thing to see. So this one here, this is another CCA member, and he one of his first carvings was a cowboy, and I think a lot of carvers, caricature carvers in the States, carve cowboys. Everywhere you go, you see tons of cowboys, and so he's typical of that. And then now look at the work he does now. If you look at the couple above the cowboy, and they're kissing the older couple there, it's just, and all the details that they have with that as well. And then next to the couple is Curly. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this a little later. But if you take a look at Curly, the cool thing about him is that he's got one hair on his head. And then he's an ugly cowboy. And I'll explain a little bit more about this guy. He was just put out of place. So I'll explain a little bit more later on about Curly. And the raccoon, this is a CCA member again. Thing I liked about the raccoon, he's dressed in a Christmas outfit, and the stand is a gift with a ribbon on it. And I thought, what a great idea. Instead of just putting a flat board there, a Christmas present, it just works. It works really well. And one of the competitors, the dentist, trying to pull a tooth out from the patient. That was pretty good. And then this, I don't know if anybody recognizes this photo. In behind there, there's a photo of, this is a famous photo from New York City. Steel workers on a break, and they're on this big steel beam. And so this photo's very famous. And the carver, a CCA member, he carved each guy that's in behind that photo there as a caricature. And if you take a look, so he's got each guy in front of each guy in the photo. So you see the first guy, he's lighting up a cigarette. And so they're all facing exactly the same way. Just amazing. I find this really, really good. Talk about trying to make caricatures look like somebody. This guy certainly did it.
How big would those individuals have been, John?
About 6 inches. 6 inches tall. 6, 7. And the this one here, that was a competitor, the cabin. And that was under group caricatures. It looks to me that this one here, some of the caricatures have a small platform underneath. So it almost seems to me that you might have gathered a bunch of his carvings and put them together by making all these little extra pieces. So I think I have quite a few of those, so it makes me think about maybe I should put some of my carvings together as well.
The other thing I noticed in this is the amount of work he did on transfers. So he did a really good job of printing out things and transferring them to wood. Like all those are the original decals, right? That he printed out. Really did a nice job on that.
Yeah.
And that again speaks to what you were saying earlier about the detail, right?
Yeah, it changes everything. It really adding all this detail. Like there's people playing music. There's one playing checkers. There's so many things happening. It really tells a story. The pig farmer. I think that speaks for itself. I think he's just great. And then and even the wheel of the tractor, how he carved that out, and look how dirty it looks. Looks like he was in the mud. And right next to it is a previous carving done by a CCA member, and this is just beautiful. If you take a look at that horse at the front of the carriage, he's just fantastic. And look at the faces on the 3 horses. It's just Just amazing how we can make those faces look so good. And if you look at the fence, you see the little post. So if you go to the next picture, you see that there's each post had a face on it. So talk about adding extras to your work. So a beautiful work that he's done with the horses and everything else, and then the fence post has faces on it. I thought, what an extra feature. It was really good, I thought.
I'm just going to go back here.
Yeah.
You know, the face of this caricature too is really unique. Seldom do you see the jowls and the big chin like that. He really looks smart, really something different, you know?
Yeah. And then in the South, they have a lot of things with alligators. And so the roller coaster going down into a tub where an alligator's anxiously waiting. But look how mean he looks. A lot of really, really good carvings. I have to say that most of the carvings were outstanding. This one here is really cool. So the Fruit Loops, with the Cheerios. Each of those Cheerios, I talked with the person that carved this. Each of those Cheerios carved individually. That's a lot of Cheerios, and then she has that liquid in there that is allowed. The bowl is hand carved as well as the spoon, and but every single Cheerio is carved, and you can see there's some faces on some of the Cheerios.
Do you think they were carved separately and then assembled, or carved right in the bowl?
Separately. She told me that she carved them all separately.
Real cute idea. I like the caption, "Be a Fruit Loop in a world full of Cheerios." That's really cute. And so she must have added some kind of white concoction to epoxy to get that milk, but whatever she did, it turned out really well.
Yeah, the epoxy that was used in some of the carvings did look realistic. I've seen a lot of epoxy and it doesn't look very good at all. But this one, all the ones that have been used looked really good.
Hmm. And what's that big red ribbon on yours?
I know. I thought I had to add that one for sure.
Yeah.
So this one here, I'm just going to quickly talk about this one for a second. As far as the critiquing was concerned, that the CCA member that critiqued this spent about 5 minutes critiquing it to me, and he's the one that first said, we don't say anything good about the carvings, we say what's wrong with the carvings. And so there's if you take a close up, the most obvious thing is the fish. It's not, it's not floppy, but the thing he complained about was not complained but critiqued about was the collar, for instance, of the jacket. It was too perfect. It was too symmetrical on both sides. My hand that's on the stomach on the side, the jacket is not quite on the thumb. So in order for the jacket should really be over the thumb of the gator. So things like that, and then the lines that I put on the gator itself, he said you should have had it a little bit wider on the front. So all little things like that. But he spent quite a bit of time critiquing it. So that brings me to the next one. So I have a big blank there, and one of the reasons it's blank is because the carver went up to the same person and said, "I don't understand why I didn't win anything." So not the one that we're looking at. We're talking about the blank page right now. And so he's the caricature. He said, "Well," he says, "I usually don't tell people how good their stuff is, but your base is amazing. I love the way your base is. You did a fantastic job. But your carving is no good. There's nothing good about your carving. And that's how rough they are on the critiques. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. So
Yeah,
the next carving,
it's really a different style, isn't it, John?
really is, yeah.
When you go to any carving shows in Ontario, the judges do just the opposite, you know, and they'll talk to a person individually, or they'll critique all of the carvings at the end of the show, as they did in Hamilton just recently on the Sunday. And you start by talking about the strengths, and that's important to, you know, that the individual understands what was done right, in my opinion. But it's also
Right.
important that other people hear that too, and say, here's what I'm looking for as a judge, you know?
Yeah.
And then maybe end on one or two things on how could you improve it, right? I'm not sure I'm a big, well, I know I'm not a big proponent of just saying what's wrong with a carving. That just doesn't sound right to me at all.
Yeah, I thought that was very, very different. And he was quite loud about it too. Well, everybody's around, and you know, they're listening. And so it's yeah, it might be offensive to some people. If we go back again to that one that we just saw there. Okay, so that one there, there was a separate contest from the show, the Ugly Cowboy contest, and it was $1,000 prize. And the one that you're looking at, it was the $1,000 came from a sponsor, and the one that you're looking at was the winner of that contest.
Very good.
I don't really think he's that ugly, but Curly that we saw earlier,
yeah,
he was one of the ugly cowboys as well.
Okay.
Oh, what happened there?
Well, I was just
Yeah,
showing
okay.
Curly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Keep
Well,
going.
you didn't mention the $1,000 US before. If somebody gave me $1,000 US, I'd take their criticism.
That helps a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the same guy that won there. He very good job with the horse. He is kind of ugly, but and then the next guy next to him, Grub, he's another ugly cowboy. And then keep going. And then oh, this was the one that got mixed up with the lawyer guy. He's got his pants on fire there, and the fireman is getting ready to put the fire out. So the lawyer was on the hot sheet, I guess. But there's another ugly cowboy right there, and one more picture. And my personal favorite ugly cowboy is this one here, and this. I think this guy should have won. Look at his face, and look at the wrinkles on this guy's face. It's just amazing. The teeth are yellow. He is extremely ugly. I think everybody I talked to thought that he should have won. The judges for the Ugly Cowboy contest was the sponsor, and the sponsor is not a carver. So that might say something. And then finally, the next slide, on the Saturday night, we were treated to an amazing dinner theater show. It was one of the best country bands I've ever heard in my life, and I've been to a lot. And these guys were just amazing. And that's where the judging, that's where the contest took place for the Ugly Cowboy. It was probably 1,000 people there, and it was just a great show. So the whole experience in Colorado Springs, if anybody gets to go, I highly recommend it.
That sounds fantastic, John. Comments for John? Questions? Well, I think we're all in a little bit of awe of what went on there. You know, their shows are so much bigger than ours, and it'd be nice to take in some. Now, John, you were mentioning to me that either you've taken in or will be taking in a roundup as well.
Yeah, we about a month prior to this, we went to Pennsylvania. We went to a roundup. So it was 4 days of carving, day and evening. And there was about 20 instructors there. It was a lot of fun. The community was really close knit. There was a lot of activities during the day and evening, and it was all free. All you had to do is pay your accommodations. That was in Pennsylvania, and since then we've heard of another one in Michigan, which is even closer than to this one. And my wife has put together a list for next year's roundups, and she has 10 of them already put aside.
Very good.
I just go back to a comment on that very first slide that the two fellows with their feet in the water.
Yes.
You get that one there? That's Mr. Rogers and the fellow, and that's part of the statement there.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah.
back. That's a great picture of Mr. Rogers, the way.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John. Well done.
Great stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to quickly go through, Lloyd and I will quickly go through just a few slides here on our visit to Queens. You'll recall that I put this pattern together as a Queens hoodie guy. They called it the Queens graduate student, so that's great. And this is what it looked like carved, and that's the model that we brought to the Queens class. Of course, I had actually we showed them how we did it. I actually had pinned it out on a block and brought it to the bandsaw. But then, as I typically do with roughing out, I just used a Fordham tool and just knocked off the edges so that the students would have a sense of what round started to look like. That you could see they still had a lot of carving to do to get to a carving that looked like that. When Lloyd and I arrived, we found out that their art class was in this building, and it's on Queens campus, and it's right next door to the Agnes Etherington Art Gallery. And this is quite a nice art gallery. When you come to Kingston, I think it's generally free to go into the art gallery, but there are actually Rembrandts hanging in this art gallery. And so this was their building. Lloyd, you jump in anytime. This is a picture of Lloyd and I. Lloyd and I are the ones, it's hard to pick Lloyd and I out from the young people, but our hair is a little grayer. But we were surprised to find out, we kind of thought we were walking into a first year arts class. It turns out these students all have gone 4 years and have a Bachelor of Science degree. And that was a prerequisite to get into this art class. And the art class is actually preparing them to be curators of museums worldwide. That's where these students end up. And it was like walking into a chem lab. They had chemistry equipment, they had FTIR machines, they had X-ray machines, and they were into conservation and restoration of artwork. And so as an example, we saw a group of people on our little tour we took. We saw a group of people looking at a painting and trying to replicate the paint composition in this painting by taking FTIR measurements and X-ray measurements. One of the gals here showed us a statue they were working on. It looked like sort of a 2.5 foot tall statue of the Virgin Mary, but it was from Vietnam, and it was all broken up and the paint was chipping, and she was restoring that. So it was really interesting to see what they were doing, but nonetheless, none of them had ever carved before. And so we started them off on that. And Lloyd, why don't you say a few words how we kind of started them off and how the actual carving went?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We gave them gloves and we gave them knives. We took enough knives and gloves and thumb pieces just to protect them. They were all eager to go. They just wanted to get going. They didn't want to hear Mark talking any longer. They just wanted to start carving. It was good though. I mean, they were a really good class and very attentive and focused on what they were doing. So it was really a fun one to do.
It really was. It was really a fun day, and I hope they invite us back, Lloyd. And so this is the group of the students, and you can see they did a pretty darn good job. They did that work in probably 3.5 hours. And so I was really proud of what they did, and they really had a good time, and Lloyd and I had the best time of all of them. And as Lloyd said to me the night before, this is really going to look good on our resumes. Going to Queen's University, eh?
Teaching at Queen's University.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, any questions or comments on that? Okay, and we're running out a little bit of time, but John, Paul, and I wanted to just remind everybody about what we're doing in regard to our next virtual show. Pardon the way the text came up here. I was just trying to cut and paste from a Word document. But what we're planning to do is have a wood carving show virtually on December 21st. The theme will be all things Christmas related. So as John said last time, it could be a Christmas ornament, it could be an elf, it could be a Santa Claus, anything you want as long as it's Christmas related and caricature in nature. The entries should be submitted to us before December 7th. And that'll give John and I a couple weeks time between the 7th and 21st when we have our regular Thursday show in December to do a little bit of judging. And all the carvings we feel should be entered in one of novice, intermediate, or advanced class. If you have more than one carving, it should all go in the same class. All entries should be submitted to me. You can use my mark@tributesandwood.com email address. Send me some nice photos. So make sure you have a nice background that allows us to really see the carving. You know, send up, 2 or 3 photos so we get different view of your carving, and make sure they're good, well in focus and good resolution. Something under a megabyte usually looks pretty nice. We plan to do what we did at our last 2 sessions is virtual shows, is judge a first, second, and third in each of the classes of novice, intermediate, and open. And we'll move the carvings around from novice to intermediate or vice versa, depending on where we feel the best competition would be. And then on our regular Thursday, December 21st Zoom call, we'll have a quick judge's critique. And so we'll just have some fun looking at the carvings and appreciating them, and then giving a few thoughts on how that particular carving might be able to be improved. As far as awards go, we have got in the habit of awarding a certificate of recognition. So we'll make you up a nice certificate of recognition that you can frame for your workshop or living room. And we'll send one out for first, second, and third winners in all of novice, intermediate, and open classes. And Murray will take the pictures of the first, second, and third winners that you send in to us, and they'll show up in the OWCA magazine, and I'll be sure to put them on our website, our OWCA website.
We'll probably feature all of the photographs, but mention especially the 1, 2, and 3.
Good point. Good point. Thanks for correcting me on that.
And for next month, if anybody has any questions about their carvings or need help, give us, bring your carving up, and we'll help you with any problem you guys have.
Just a question here, back to John Lemay's comments. Will you judge to how perfect it is, and it shouldn't be that perfect?
Yeah, John and I are gonna, John Paul are gonna take that stance this time. We're just gonna put our mean hats on. It'll be good cop, bad cop. We haven't decided who's who yet. No, the virtual show is always fun. The virtual show is always fun. You know, John and I, we really enjoy looking at your carvings. We like to think that we play a small part in the improvement that you're clearly making in your carvings. And so we want to applaud that. But it's always nice to hear somebody take a different look at your carving and say, here's something you might want to consider trying next time on your next carving, right? And that'll help. I know that helps me improve. I know when I started going to shows and hearing a well done critique, that really helped me improve.
I think the comment I'd make from having sat in on all of these Zoom sessions from the way back, it is amazing to watch how some of you as carvers have improved. There is really a big change in what you've done. And it's something I think is a credit to John Paul and Mark. You've done a great job of teaching and feeding into our lives. And so an applause on that way for you fellows.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and on that positive note, have fun carving. And thanks for joining us tonight. That was a lot of fun. Have a good night.